Hey everyone, it is Councilor at Large, Julia Mejia, with you for another edition of Woke Women Wednesdays, where we talk about all things the Black and Brown breakdown. Tonight, I am joined by Ed Gaskin, who is the Executive Director of Grove Hall Main Streets, who has been out in these streets doing good work and making sure that all of our people are moving up and out, but staying here, right, Ed?
Yes, ma'am.
So why don't we first start off, before I go into why you are here tonight, why don't we first start telling us a little bit about yourself? Who is Ed?
Oh, no, that's a trick question.
Oh, you got some skeletons in your closet. It should not be a trick. Let's go. Who
I got a graveyard. What are you talking about?
Introduce yourself to my audience.
Hello, audience. My name is Ed Gaskin. I'm the Executive Director of Greater Grove Hall Main Streets. I've been doing this job for 10 years. Things are pretty interesting. I went to MIT Sloan. I always tell the dean there that my job must be to bring the entire class average down. Since I didn't go into investment banking, private equity, venture capital, hedge funds, I'm actually in the street working with poor people.
Actually, you're doing the real work. Because if you look at the work, right, you are building economic opportunities for people, right? That is all dealing with dollars and cents, right? There's something there. Don't minimize your impact in the community. That does not look good on you, okay?
All right.
So tell us a little bit about your passion.
My current passion actually is food and food insecurity. In the food space, we call it food as medicine. And it has to do with the fact that most diet-related diseases cause chronic disease. And so type 2 diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular cancer, those are all mostly food-related. And so they contribute to the fact that we end up with shorter lifespans and a poorer quality of life. So one of the things I'm very passionate about is trying to change that.
And what have you done to do that? Because I know recently you have been working on, securing funding for a project. Are you free to talk about it? And tell us. I mean, you've been working in this space, so let's talk a little bit about that.
Wow. Okay, this is kind of cool. So, thanks to your help, everybody, the Councilor helped because we applied for a program, for funding for a program called the Healthy Food Pantry Program. And the gist of the program was that when you are food insecure and you go to a food pantry, food bank, the attitude is beggars can't be choosers, you get what you get. So you just get a box of random food goods. So in theory, let's say, for instance, you get a can of some baked beans, maybe it helps you with your food insecurity, but it doesn't help you with the fact that it's loaded with sodium and it aggravates your high blood pressure.
Right.
So the canned goods that we typically give out often are either high in salt, fat, or sugar, or one of the three, or if you have children that have allergens, maybe there's some stuff you can or can't have. And then the idea is you'll see people lined up and they all get the same box or bag, whatever. Yep. So you could be prenatal, postpartum, you get the same thing, even though that's not what your dietary needs are. So the idea was, let's work through a health center. So the health center already knows what your medical condition is, and then we can give you food that's consistent with what you need for your health.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you know what I really appreciate about that is that people are allowed to also shop with dignity, right? Or at least feel like a sense of control of their own lives. And I think that is what is missing in a lot of these programs, is this thing that is like tailored towards that individual.
I appreciate you said that. So the idea there is, instead of trying to do 200 people or 2,000 people, we're trying to say, well, what if we did 50 people or 20 people, and we can give everybody personalized what it was that they specifically need for their family. Because again, if you have 8 children or 2 children, or you have a senior in the home, you might need different food.
That's right.
And so why can't we customize it to the people's individual needs?
Yeah, and I often talk about why food insecurity is such an issue that I deeply care about, is because I remember when I was little, right? My mom struggled with 2 or 3 jobs, so I had to stand in the food pantry line at the Grover Cleveland. This was back in the day when it was a Grover Cleveland, right across the street from the train station. And it was so humiliating to stand in that line. And then when I would go to the local convenience store, the bodega, with food stamps, and the food stamps back in the day were the paper ones, so that everybody knew I was on welfare. And, you had limited options even with that, right? So I think that the sense of like being tailorized to what you need really changes people's experiences, even when they're dealing with whatever financial hardship. So I think that level of care is what I love about the program that you're doing.
So you raise a lot of issues. So some people, for example, when it comes to WIC and SNAP, only 50% of the benefits are used. So people don't use them for a number of different reasons. And the idea of shame, embarrassment, and all that. Yep. So the idea in our situation, if you're going to the health center, nobody knows why you're going there. You'll be getting your checkup, COVID, whatever. You go there, you pick up your stuff. Anyway, the idea is eliminate that because you don't want to create barriers where none need to exist. There's already enough barriers in the problem, which is why they have a problem in the first place.
That's right. No, that's why I love the program. And I think that you are onto something. And I think more people need to support it. And it's something that I love to see scale.
Well, the idea is, so not to, since we're going to be all wonky, the thing is...
Go ahead, Mr. MIT, get wonky on us.
So the thing is that Massachusetts was one of the states that has what's called an 1115 waiver, which allows us to use Medicaid funding to buy people groceries. Yep. So most of the food that you see from a food bank comes from the USDA. So what we're doing is that we're going to basically increase the amount of food that's available to people. Yep. And therefore, because it's a Medicaid benefit, we build back Medicaid.
That's right.
So if we figure out the program that we're talking about, that means all 22 health centers in the city can use the same program.
Yeah, do y'all hearing this? Like, here's this guy saying that he was not at MIT or he was like the bottom of the bottom. Come on, man. That is so MIT right now. So let's get to some you have other amazing projects that you've been working on. Talk to us a little bit about the project that you also worked in collaboration with some folks here in the city of Boston, the Black Women Lead Project. Explain that to us. Okay,
so the Black Women Lead Project is where we identified 212 Black women from the 1700s to the present that had an impact on Boston. So they're Boston's most admired, beloved, iconic women, but there's also people that you would never have heard of. Yeah. So for example, instead of just the doctors, lawyers, professors, and things like that, there's for example, there's 2 or 3 hairdressers on there. There's 3 librarians. There's
out of 200, only 3 hairdressers made it. We'll find out. Y'all gonna have to work on that list.
Well, we have to have room for everybody.
But 212, and those are you only have 6 people that were not like
I didn't
top
say
line.
That.
Come on, let's go.
I had the first Black woman police officer, the first Black woman detective, the first Black woman fire officer, the first Black woman in the Boston Symphony Orchestra. So there's most of the people. Okay,
I needed people to hear that.
I see. So most of the people on the list are because they were the first one to do something. Okay. There's a Black woman football player on the list.
Okay.
So those are the people. Then there's another group of people who have buildings named after them and streets named after them. So if you're like in Grove Hall, like Ma Dixon has the Ma Dixon Square, Bishop Nellie Yarborough, Frederica Williams, Robina Guscott, Mildred Haley, Anna Cole, Emma Bino. So most times when you think of buildings or streets or something, it's because somebody donated $1 million or $10 million and they got the name out of them. These people just did hard work and the community recognized them by putting their name
I love that. And are you going to be doing this project each year, or was this like?
I don't know if I can do it.
People want to know how they get up there, and I'm just gotta ask the question.
Well, I don't know if I can do it each year because it's an expensive project. That's why I have to talk about the Kraft family.
So because that is one of the questions that we have here. Let
me just explain. So typically, when I was trying to raise the money for that project, and I'd go to a foundation or whatever, they didn't really understand. So they would think it's not really art, like public art, like a mural or a sculpture or something. Mm-hmm. And they said, well, it's not really placemaking, or it's not really Black history. So we don't even know what this thing is. So they all said no. And I just joke and I say, the Crafts are used to recognizing Hall of Famers. So this is the Hall of Fame of Black women leaders. Okay,
so you had a good entry point there for that. I
did have a good entry point. And in fact, I was surprised that Bob Kraft knew Ruth Babson. So the thing is that another thing about the project is normally you just put a list, 50 people, 100 people, take out an ad, and you just put their names in. Yep. And so the idea that we took all these people, we commissioned to have all their portraits done, Right, so that was paying artists to do every one of those, and then having those printed, fabricated on the banners, and having all the banners installed and all the hardware and stuff. So yeah, so that just the banner portion alone of the project was over $100,000.
Okay, well, they were worth it.
So the foundations weren't really sure, but if I could just pay $5,000, get an ad, and just put the names up and say, here's the names of all the people we selected, it would have been a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and so I'm curious. Some of the questions that we've gotten from folks is, have you thought of expanding it to include women who are indigenous, Latinos, and things of that nature? Or was it intentional, or the whole goal is to continue to uplift Black women?
So I would do...
Inquiring minds want to know. They're going to get a little bit of love too, right, y'all?
I would love to do another 200 Black women, if I can get the money for it. Now, I couldn't possibly do Latinas, because I wouldn't know the community. But you can do it, or your office can do it, because all you gotta do is get the nominations, and then you and your committee, and you go through.
Oh, you're trying to say just because I'm Latina, I could let me find out. I could do it. Let me find out. I don't have to be of the people to be nominating them, but
you can select. I
think you could do it too.
I don't know the people.
Yeah, but you know what? This is an opportunity for you to get to know them.
Oh my God, it's a lot of work. A lot of all that history and stuff.
Yeah, but you did it once, and now you're the lead on this, right? So there's an expectation now that everyone's going to want you to do it.
Well, I would say like El Mundo and Alberto, he could do it.
Why don't you give that idea to him?
Okay. Well, he'll figure out how to make money on it. So. He's different.
Well, don't be saying that, Albertico. Tell us a little bit about how long do you plan to do this project then, if you're not thinking of doing it again?
Well, so I would like the banners to be around for a year, and then I would have the replacement banners come up a year from now. And in the meantime, I'm thinking of other places that they might go. Yes. So, for example, I'm envisioning putting them in TD Garden. I figure since there's only men up there, with Bruins players and Celtics players, maybe I can one night I'll have all the banners of women.
And it's all through Mattapan, Blue Hill Lab.
It starts at Columbia Road and Blue Hill, and it goes as far as Morangue and Blue Hill.
Okay, so for some reason maybe I'm just driving by other banners, but
yeah, it's 2 miles. So that's why I joke from an arts perspective. I say it's my Christoph project. Yeah. So that was a guy that did the gates in Central Park. So if you drive for 2 miles, you only see portraits of Black women on both sides of the street.
And now let me ask you this. You also partnered up with some of my colleagues. Like, was it because they were the district councilor and the state rep? Or how did they end up getting involved? Because I know the Worrells were involved.
So what happened there was I didn't want to just put the banners up, and I thought that would be, I figured I needed some kind of an event. And I figured if I did a ribbon cutting, what would happen is the mayor would show up and it'd be like 8 people, and then that would be it. So about 80 of the people who were honored are still in the area and alive. And so that's why we did an event at the State House. Mm-hmm. So when I went there, I was trying to get the governor to be the person. Anyway, long story short, when I talked to Chris, he said, we got you. We're going to take care of all this stuff. Because I was trying to figure out, how was I going to get money for whether it's breakfast, lunch, dinner, brunch, for 200 people and their guests. Yeah. And so I was able to do the State House. That didn't cost anything. Chris picked up, or Representative Worrell picked up the brunch stuff and gave them citations. So they got one from Chris, they got one from Ryan. And so that's how they came together. And then when the first banners went up, I was on Blue Hill Avenue at 8 in the morning, and then Representative Worrell drove by and he said, what's Ed doing in my neighborhood at 8 in the morning? And so he pulled over, and then he saw the banners, he got an Instagram live, and the next thing I know, TV stations were coming out there.
It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Can you talk to us a little bit about what problems have you run into highlighting these women? I mean, I'm thinking there's lots of women that wanted to participate. And some people were like, why my name did not get on there? Did you get any of those? Like, Ed, I thought you were my bestie. Like, talk to us a little bit about some of that, because that happens.
So
if it did.
So there was a couple of snags. So the project would have happened actually 2 years ago, but there was a woman in the Walsh administration who didn't like the project, and she wouldn't give me a permit to do it. I said,
are you serious?
I said,
we heard it here first, y'all. That was tea right now. That was just dropped.
I said that's.
I'm joking.
I said that's political malpractice. I said to
sabotaging your idea just because they didn't like it.
No, I don't want to say too much because then you know who it was. But they said none of the other main streets are doing that. We want everybody to do the same thing. And so when I talked to the mayor, he said at that time it was Chief of Streets Chris Osgood. The chief said, work it out with her. You two work it out. But she said no. So for 2 years, I didn't do the project.
Why didn't you call me?
Well, so the question was...
I would have made that happen for you.
The question was, did I want to have the score? Because I knew I could win that battle. The question was whether I wanted to have the fight or not.
Okay.
So I figured...
You want to be strategic about picking and choosing? Is that what I'm hearing?
I knew that she wouldn't last, and once the new administration came,
Dad.
she was gone. And then I went ahead with my project.
Look at you. You out here, the art of war.
Stop it.
You know how to play the game.
No, that's not me. You know, I'm just Ed.
How did you?
So I did, by the way, I did have 2 people who were not happy because one person said, you know me, blah, 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 blah. And I can't believe it.
But are you memorable? What have you done?
Well, so what happened is we only had so many people per category, right? Okay. So because I wanted to make sure we had, and that's the story is we worked with Mother Caroline Academy.
Okay.
And so their students helped pick out some of the people that were
I
up
love
there.
that.
And so what happened is when the classes gave me their list, because each class gave me their list,
yep.
I said, isn't this great? Because these young women, they're learning about role models, learning about Black history, learning about resiliency.
Yep.
And so what I wanted to make sure is that we had people from all walks of life.
Yep.
So in order to do that, I had to make sure that some categories, like politicians and media people, I had to limit them. So
who are the politicians you picked? Kim?
So in terms of politicians, there was
Ayanna,
Mary Good. I think she was like the first Black woman elected. Sandra Graham from Cambridge. Then Shirley Owens Hicks, Gloria Fox. Where are all the other ones? Charlotte Golar Ritchie. There's a lot of people who are the elected officials. Of course, Mayor Kim Janey's on the list. Ayanna Pressley. So all of those people.
They got on, right?
They were all on.
Okay.
But one of the politicians that wasn't on threatened us.
Oh my God, this is like gangster stories here right now. You got people sabotaging, people threatening you. Ed.
She said if we didn't put her on, she was going to write a bad story about us in the Dorchester Reporter.
Oh, terrible. I don't even want to talk about it.
I
am not even going to speculate who.
But the people who were actually good, they're like, oh well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
And that's what I told them. I said, look, not everybody makes the Hall of Fame in the first ballot.
Yeah, that's
Some
right.
Hall of Famers are on the second
you
ballot.
got to aspire to that. But you know what I'm really excited about? Even though I'm not invited to the project, I am going to insert myself because that's who I am. I just want to insert myself into spaces and places. I would love to utilize some of those banners during Women International Month in March. I think there's an opportunity for you to do some programming around that.
I have no.
Can I work with you on that?
Well, you can lead it. Jessica's available. You and Jessica do it.
I'd love to do something where we do a walk and talk, and we can space it out because we have a whole month, but that we spend time learning about a cohort of women in a particular area. And we can do this with girls across the city of Boston.
Love to.
And bring girls from different schools together. And maybe that we could do that on a Saturday. And that could be some programming that we do. I think it's important for the girls to see other women and to hear their stories and invite some of the women who have been highlighted. You know, you said 80 or so are still with us, thank God, that they can do the walk and talk tour with us. I would love to sign up, and I'm claiming that as an activity.
There you go.
That Ed and Jessica and I are going to do an International Women's Month, right?
Well, I can just tell you this. When I was at Mother Caroline Academy, and to hear some of the girls talk about what it was like to have all these faces around them. And so I just didn't think about it in terms of, they said going to school each day, and now I got to walk past all these women.
It's a beautiful thing.
And they said about this cloud of witnesses, so there's all these women looking down on them. Yeah. So I had commuters who were talking about it, people in the neighborhoods. So I had a woman, she said, when we were putting in the banners, she said, I want one of those. I said, which one do you want? She said, I don't care. I'm a Black woman. I grew up in this neighborhood.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, I don't think that I think that there's so many beautiful unintended consequences as a result of what you have done, because especially in this moment. So
that's true. What people said about Black history and being woke and critical race theory, and now you're celebrating our history. You're celebrating Black women, and we're at the bottom of the totem pole all the time.
And I used to teach Girl Scouts at Mother Caroline. Right?
No.
Yes, I did. I've done so many things in my life, but yeah. Anyways, fast forward to, I think that this is probably why I'm inspired. My daughter was a Girl Scout. I just think that there's something here to really continue to do some work, to continue honoring that space, even if you do it in the next 2 years, another round. But while we still have them there, I think there's an opportunity for programming. And I love doing things like that. So I will be reaching out to your office to figure out what that looks like.
Well, thank you. That's exciting.
Yeah, no. Because I inserted myself, even though I was not invited.
There's certain things that I wanted to do. For example, I said, Mother Caroline, they have their assemblies. I said, why couldn't I have one of the women come and speak during assembly? We videoed that, and then we play that interview again on BNN or something, where maybe it airs on this channel. But the idea is that we have these women that have done all this amazing stuff, almost like the unsung heroes or like the movie Hidden Figures, right in our community. And if we don't recognize them, nobody else is going to.
My daughter, that's the route that she takes to go to school. So for me, I love it. My daughter's half Black and half Dominican. So for her to see herself, fully reflected is important to me. So
that was one of the things I was telling the girls. I said, there's basically women here from almost every career path that you can think of, right? Because yes, there's doctors, lawyers, judges, teachers, but there's all these other people.
Construction, law enforcement.
Exactly. So I said, so there's already been a Black woman who's been successful from Boston. We're not talking about someplace else. And if there isn't, you can be the first, just like they were the first.
That's right. That's why I'm so excited. Now, I did look at my phone and I realized I did ask you all of my questions. So that means we're probably at time right now. But I wanted you to give our audience an opportunity to, if they wanted to follow you, if they wanted to reach out to you, and if you could just tell us a little bit about what Main Street does. I mean, I know this is not all of it, but if you could just tell us a little bit now that we have you here.
So first of all, what I'd love to have for people is, I'm trying to get the next 200, and I'm looking for nominations. So people, like I was talking to a woman today who was like a professor at the time, when she was 21. Think of this, she's a Black woman, age 21. She was the leader of the Black Panther Party in Boston. Wow. And so she went on and she was a professor, now she's professor emeritus, whatever. And so I said, look, I said, history has not been kind to Black women. So I said, we don't know all the people that are all the heroes and sheroes and stuff like that. So nominations, if you know them, send them to me.
Okay.
Just go to the Greater Grove Hall website, look at my email.
Say it slower.
It's Greater Grove Hall Main Street website.
That's just a Google lot.
It. That's okay.
Greater Grove Hall website. .com.
They'll find it.
Is it Greater Grove Hall Mainstreets.com?
It's .org.
Okay, so let's say it right, because
well, I don't know what our thing
is. It's your organization. You
just
better say
Google it.
Greater Grove Hall Main Street.
You'll find it. And there's a picture of President Deborah Jackson on the homepage, and click on her thing. It'll take you to the page. Contact me. Send in your nominations. Email them. Say, hey, did you know about this woman or that woman or whatever? Because a lot of times I don't. I get really excited when we discover all these people that I didn't know about.
Could I make a recommendation too that you consider young people?
Well,
teenage
I'd say
young girls too. I mean, I just think, I'm all about inclusivity, and if I don't feel like people want to see themselves, and I think that young people usually aren't seen as leaders. And there's a young woman named Carrie Mays. I've seen her grow up. Sarah Lawton. I knew them both since they were 14 years old. Now they're 21 and 22. An amazing activist here in the city of Boston. I just think that we have so many incredible young women who deserve to be recognized and uplifted. And so I would add a category to the nomination forms for young adults.
Well, I would say 90% of the people are over 60.
Yeah, well, I would say that's not a good look right now. We have to talk about emerging leaders, and I would advocate for us to have a few more youngins up in there.
So the people that are not 60 are probably Kim Janey, Rachel Rollins, Ayanna
They're
Presley.
Like 50.
I know, so I'm saying.
So I'm talking about 30 and 20-year-olds, okay? Like, we want them to see, there's a lot of young women right now in positions of power who are the first ever. First 30-year-old who is, the tech of whatever. Like, there's some amazing young women. And if we're really serious about, like, being inclusive, then we're going to have to make space for them. That's just me advocating for the youngins. Not that I'm one of them. I'm just saying something for you to consider.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, he's not making any commitments. You see how he is right now? But we do appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. I can't believe that. First of all, you're like a great interviewer, a great host. I can't believe I haven't been back before, but now I'm going to be calling you. When can I come back? When can I come back?
So you like this.
Loved it.
I will be inviting you back to my show if you behave.
Well, now you put too many restrictions. I can just tell you.
Yes.
So we have a whole thing about the media in terms of Channel 4, 5, 7, 25. There's been lots of coverage and then lots of interviews in this, but this has probably been my most fun interview.
Yes, and it's the most in-depth because we really got into the nitty-gritty of things. And also, you know what? If anybody's been following me, I am not your stereotypical host, and nor am I your stereotypical politician. And I think that, I don't want to be. And I think that's probably why you felt so comfortable being yourself.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I created space for you to be fully expressed, and that's what it.
Yeah, well, maybe. That's a good thing.
Oh yes, it is. We got him off guard. He spilled the tea twice up in here, y'all.
Uh-oh, no, not spilling the tea.
Yes. So thank you for joining me for Woke Women Wednesdays. We look forward to giving you a lot more in 2024.